in the audience. It bears repeating. It's important. So I am here today with DaMayor, Mike Jones.
How you guys doing? Yeah.
I am here with Maria Lizardo from the Northern Manhattan Improvement Corporation.
Thank you, thank you.
And I am here with Led Black from the Uptown Collective. And welcome to This Is Your Spotlight Live. This is the first time in 2 years I'm able to do this show live and in person.
We outside.
We outside. So I'd like to say thank you to everybody here, everybody present. Thank you for joining me. This, God willing, will be available on the YouTube channel, The Roman Epic Productions on YouTube. So this is season 3, episode 1. And today is Dominican Pride episode. So it's just super. So for those of you who may not know, but I'm sure if anybody has watched the show, my parents are, were born in Dominican Republic. They came over here, and here I am 40 years later. And I kind of, always had an affinity with the Dominican community. It's been interesting because, we have our own language. People are like, nah, you ain't got your own language. No, trust me. There's 31 provinces on the island, and there's only 3 cardinal directions. Trust me, everybody got their own way of saying everything. And you just try to keep up, and you're like, I need a drink. You might sound better after the drink, maybe. So Maria's representing part of the Dominican Day Parade that is on 6th Avenue every second Sunday in August. I've been to the parade. I've seen you on the float. I say hi de lejos. And we also have Led, and we also have Mike representing the community aspect. So we're going to start with, of course, the question. It is a Dominican episode. Yeah, we got to ask. What part of the Dominican Republic is you or your family from?
My family, we all are from the capital, Santo Domingo, la capital, just to say it in Spanish, de Villa Francisca, kilómetro 7.5, Carretera Sánchez. I could keep going and going and going. But I'm from the capital.
And we are from El Cibao, de Moca. Moca. Even though I was born here, I lived out there for a few years in la calle Mella, número 21, en Moca.
Hey!
Yeah, so my parents are from Cibao. My mother's from Esperanza. Mm-hmm. But, I was born here, but at 3 months, they sent me to DR, and I lived in Villa Juana until I was 5 when I came back.
Wow.
Yeah. Villa Juana is official. For real.
I will tell you, for me, my parents are from Santiago. My mom is from Santiago, de Polo Nuevo. And my father's from Tenares, La Amapola City. I've never been to La Amapola. They're like, you have to go. I'm like, see,
What is La Amapola? That sounds dirty.
It does.
Let's go to La Amapola. You're like, what?
I'm just like.
That sounds like a curse word.
No, it does. It's like, is it coffee over there? Is it what y'all got over there?
Amapola.
From Harlem, right? That isn't code for what I think it is it? La vergüenza. Terrible. I love you, Daddy. Love you too, Mom.
Community for the past, like I said, this summer's going to be 22 years, and I have a couple of NBA guys, overseas players, and we como se dice, un asopao. Just joy, and just, all in all, it's all about sports and education. I was born and raised in Dykeman. I played under Kenny Stevens, which is the commissioner of Dykeman basketball, and he set the blueprint as to be a leader, not a follower, and you could say I gravitated and I grabbed it and I set my own blueprint with our brand, and here we are. I ain't stopping. It was full off, I tell you that much.
That's right. And Maria.
So, my day job, I'm the executive director at NMIC, and we're a community-based organization that for the last 44 years have been providing services in the community, Washington Heights and Inwood, and in the Bronx. I'm a social worker. I'm a product of Hamilton Heights and Washington Heights. But I'm also on the National Dominican Day Parade. And with that, we really use our the parade to elevate and show everything that is beautiful about being Dominican, highlighting our culture, our music, our food, people who are doing amazing things, not only in New York City, but throughout the United States, because Dominicans are everywhere.
Yes, we
Everywhere you
are.
go, and not just in the United States, abroad as well. You can go anywhere, you will find a Dominican, and we find each other. Regardless. Así mismo, nos encontramos donde sea, en la sopa. And the parade is really about highlighting that, but also about fundraising for scholarships for our young Dominicans that are finishing high school and college or doing some kind of training program, because we know that education is key to supporting people and lifting themselves out of poverty. And so for us, there's a lot of financial challenges that we face, and so this is our way of making sure that our Dominicanos and Dominicanas have some financial support to get their education.
That's right.
Yeah, and before I even talk about myself, I want to say that I'm super proud to be sitting next to these two giants, right? These two people are giants, right? Mike, I think sometimes when people talk about themselves, I'm not trying to think Mike, but Mike is fucking huge, right? Because you think about when I was coming up, I'm sorry I cursed, but when I was coming up, Dykeman basketball wasn't Dykeman basketball. Rucker Park was Rucker Park. That was the basketball, street basketball mecca. Well, Mike, you were talking about Dykeman basketball. It's because of this man and Kenny. So let's hear from Mike Jones, right? That's my brother. And I don't think I know almost anybody that has the kind of respect that Mike has in the street and with people. That's real shit. That's not a lie. That's real. And I seen him put himself on the front lines time and time again. And that's not an easy thing to do with Dominicans. Let's be for real, right?
It's true.
Because you get shots, everyone's shooting at you, and Mike take those shots time and time again. And then this woman's another powerhouse, right? Because every day in, day out, she's working for our community, right? That's real shit. So let's hear for both of them. Right, perfect. All right, so I run the Uptown Collective. We've been around now since 2010. It began as a way of being an homage to this community that I grew up. I like to say that I'm not just from Washington Heights, I'm of Washington Heights. And the site was built as homage to the neighborhood, and it's become this thing that's super important. And I'm really proud to, day in, day out, do the work, the heavy lifting of community. And the point was to document what's happening, but also to help shape it. And to be honest, I really feel right now is a crucial time in this neighborhood's history because I grew up during the crack era. It feels like we're at the beginning of the heroin era. And the stuff I see now, I've never seen it in the Heights. Because when I used to, back in the days, and Mike will tell you, crackheads, excuse my language, used to go to the parks to smoke. Now you see the heroin addicts do it right there on the A train on 181st in the morning. My kids are going to school. Yep. So that's what I'm saying. This is why this is important. If we don't do it, no one's going to do it. Right, and this neighborhood is changing, and we have to help move it along the right way. So that's what it's about: coming together and power moves, right? And last thing I want to say is that Dominicans are the biggest immigrant group in New York City. Yep. That has to mean something, right? Like Jay-Z said, men lie, women lie, numbers don't. Let's make these numbers count.
And going back to the crack ever, you know what's so crazy that there was one, it went viral a couple of years, I think maybe a year ago, it went viral with I think it was the 190 or 181st train station with the needles and the vials and the train track. Hear me out, I took my train right here in Dykeman and I told myself, I'm gonna get off to see if this is for real. And when I got off in 181st and I saw the zombies and I'm walking, I went from going downtown, I seen the zombies, I looked, I waited for the train to pass by, I looked to the train tracks, and all I saw was the little orange and needles with blood and everything. And I said to myself, nah, this can't be serious. Yeah. This cannot be serious. So I said, all right, let me go over, now I'm gonna go back home. And me waiting for the train, also I looked to the tracks and I'm like, nah, And it's like Les said, this is all coming back. It's doing, instead of a 360, it's doing a 180. It's coming back all over again, but instead with the dope, not with the crack. Like, isn't, to me, I don't want to bash just in case the mayor sees this or whatever, but to me, they not really doing a good job with everything that's going on with society. Because to us to see that now, our generation, we grew up seeing that. Now we're seeing another generation. I call these the pandemic babies. Now they're seeing it. So what's gonna happen after the pandemic babies? What they gonna see next? Because there's too much crime, too much drugs in the streets, and we didn't see that when we were growing up. Like you said, everybody used to shoot in the park or on the roofs or behind the buildings. Now they right there in front of you shooting with no problem. And that's, to me, is disgusting. And you can't tell. You gotta protect yourself, because you can't tell that person that's shooting up, like, yo, get away from my building or get off my block, because you don't know if they're gonna chase you with that.
Basically.
You know?
But what we're also seeing is that our community members are being pushed out. And so in the 80s and 90s, when no one else wanted to live up here, we were up here. We grew up in the neighborhood. This is our home. And what we're seeing now is, as the neighborhood got clean and our parks were improved, we're being gentrified. Everyone else wants to come up here. There's easy access. You have the A, the 1, the buses. You can get around. You can jump into the Bronx right away. You can jump downtown quickly. And our community members who live through this is our home, are being pushed out. And so what do we do about that? How do we make sure that we preserve the Dominicans that want to stay here and continue living here, and that they have high quality housing? That's important. And so we're seeing that shift too. And so we're seeing an increase in drugs, an increase in crime, but we're also seeing that our community members, a decrease in the number of Dominicans that are living in Uptown and in Washington Heights and Inwood.
No, like, to piggyback off what you said, I actually took the train with my son on 168, and somebody was dead-ass shooting up. Yep. They went all the way to the end of the train, and they were shooting up. And I had to explain to him, like, he's like, what's going on? I said, and then they were so out of their mind, they almost dropped their needle on the seat. And I was like, no te siente ahí. So, something has to be done. Gentrification has killed a lot of the character, has killed a lot of the sense of community. That's why everybody's so separate. Everybody está por su lado.
But with the gentrification stuff, I feel like me and the politicians from Washington Heights, me and you know who they are. There's only a certain few that I mess with, and then there's certain that I don't. Why I say it like this? Because I feel like they are the puppets to the upper class people, right? And being that I say that they the puppets is because they're the ones that's trying to push us out. Being that if you're homegrown, how can you take the bag and see that your mom and dad and your tia lived here all their life, but you want to end up pushing them out because you're taking the money? And at the end of the day, here goes your tia and your mom and dad back to the motherland, and they want to come back, but they don't got nothing to come back to.
Pa que sepa. All right, so the last question for this part of the panel.
Last question? What do you mean?
Last question.
I want to keep talking. Like, what are you talking about?
Started talking.
I know, this is fire. This got good. Okay, before we get to the last question, we're going to play a little trivia. Don't worry, these are not questions that nobody's ever heard or know the answer to. So you ready? Here we go. Anybody in the audience can answer. Okay, who is considered the first Dominican actress? Okay.
Anyone?
Anybody? Rudy. Go ahead. Maria Montes.
All right.
My Google took too long.
Okay, here's a good one. All right. Who was the first Dominican Miss Universe? Come on, everybody gotta know this one.
Yeah, but what's her name?
What's the name?
She said it, the one in the orange.
Amelia Vega. Woo! All right. And little known fact, she's half Dominican, eighth Lebanese, and Cuban. Oh, wow. So she still rep DR, either way. Okay, the last trivia. Oh, this is an easy one. Come on. Everybody has to know this. His name is on the street right before. No. Juan is the first name. Okay. Who is considered the first Dominican that immigrated to New York in the year 1613. His occupation was a sailor turned merchant. Juan is his first name. Now, what's his last name?
Thank you. His street's right here.
The street's right here. It's a very typical last name.
St. Nicholas?
Okay, it's Juan Rodriguez. All right. So for whoever got a right answer, you get a T-shirt. Come see me after this to get you.
This is gonna be like 30 minutes long.
Espérese, freno.
Tú sí que habla.
Y'all wake up talking. I don't stop talking the whole day. For real. I drive everyone in my house crazy, yo.
See, he just started. He ain't stopped.
For real, I ain't playing. Dude. We outside too? Forget it, yo.
Estilo político. Te dice todo va.
And especially if it's a panel.
Yo, seriously, yo.
Oh my gosh. So what do you hope with your contribution will be your legacy?
Ladies first.
What I want, my mom taught us that we had a responsibility to leave the world better than how we came into it. So
Yes.
what I want to leave as my legacy is that whatever work I've done, whether it is at NMIC or as when I volunteer or as part of the parade or other boards, that I leave this world just a little bit better than how I came into it. And I know we face a lot of challenges, mucha vaina siempre pasando, but we all have that responsibility to do our best, to be a good person, and to leave this world better than how we came into it, so our kids can thrive more than what we did.
Facts.
I like that. As for me, my legacy, I would like to be remembered as a leader, not a follower, led by example, and to show the next generation that you don't have to sell drugs, you don't have to be in the corner, you don't have to be looking cool. You could work a 9 to 5 and still be cool and still push yourself to the limit that there is no limit. Facts. And like I always tell my kids this in school, if you're chasing your dreams and your dreams are big and somebody tells you that your dreams are too small, that's a small-minded person. Can't let nobody tell you no different in life. Just keep fighting, keep chasing it, and believe me, you will succeed in life in whatever you do in life.
Okay, so back in the day, right?
Let's go, lad.
Oh, wait, I can't. I'm the host. I can't get up.
Busca la almohada.
Look, when I was a kid, right, my mom used to be the numbers lady, right, for a good chunk of the Heights, right? So people would come to my mom's crib back in the days, and they would play with numbers with her. It was she would make mondongo, right? And everybody would come to the crib and play numbers with her. But the point was that she was recreating DR for these poor Dominican people, right? Like, so she had created a service. So a good chunk of the hood would come to my mom's crib on Sundays and play the Dominican numbers, right? And so and it was a way of recreating DR. And I feel like what I've done with the Uptown Collective is the same thing, right? It's creating community for us. It's creating a sense of purpose. It's uniting us in a lot of ways. Like, I grew up in this hood, and Mike could tell you, like, I grew up on 182nd and Wadsworth. I never went to Dykeman. And I never went to past 181st, because if I did, his people would fuck me up, right? Or if I went down the other way, it would be the same way, because we self-segregated when we was kids. We were all Dominican, but we all had beef.
That's true.
Unless you knew someone from Dykeman, you wasn't going to Dykeman. Unless you knew someone from the 170s, you wasn't going to 170s.
This is true.
I went to Hybrids a few times. I got my sneakers robbed, you know what I'm saying? I got jumped, you know what I'm saying? But that's what the point of it is. Like, I feel like now that we have a chance to really make our numbers mean something, right? Like again, Dominicans mean something, right? Sometimes we forget, like we go to DR, but DR in a lot of ways is one of the most advanced countries in Latin America.
Yes.
My brother's a traveler. I'm not really a traveler, but he's been to Colombia, Panama. DR is very advanced in a lot of ways. You know,
they got Tony Romas. If you like ribs.
And again, in this city, this is the most important city on the planet, and we're the biggest immigrant group in the city. So that has to mean something. So that's my legacy, is making that mean something.
That's right.
And going back to lead, he's speaking facts because it's true. Like everybody will find it strange with me walking from the heights all the way home and not get touched, and everybody would be like, yo, but how do you do it? I'm like, I don't have no beef with nobody. We to be honest with you, I would never understand that problem between the heights and Dykeman. We all is one. We all Dominicans, and I would never understand that problem and that beef. And going back to that, remember when we did the Wins by Any Means, that first event that we did it's called Wins by Any Means. It was an event to showcase talent up in Washington Heights, and we held it in Negro Claro. We did a couple everywhere, but Negro Claro was like the biggest one that we ever did. And to hold Washington Heights and Dykeman underneath one roof with my generation and with this generation.
No beef.
And no beef.
No beef.
I cried. I had goosebumps. Led cried. Everybody cried because we come from a different generation compared to this generation. And I've noticed it throughout the years that this generation does not have, I'm not trying to diss them or anything, but this generation does not have no morals, no respect, and no structure. And why they don't have that? Because they don't have what we had when we were growing up. And we had leaders, and we had, people to look up to, regardless that it was Fulanito de Tal chilling in the corner with the brand new BMW with the BBSs, the chain, the flyest girl. We had somebody to look up to. Now this generation is like, what is there to? They call us dinosaurs.
No,
yeah, you know how insulting is that?
No, but he's right though. But like, one thing exactly, like when we were growing up, like I used to look up to the drug dealers, and they were drug dealers, and I really believe that selling drugs is horrible. I'm not going to legitimize that, but at least they held shit down, right?
Yes, they did.
The dudes that used to sell drugs ran the block well. So you wasn't getting robbed for silly stuff. This wasn't happening. They would buy turkeys on Thanksgiving. That don't happen no more, right? Like a lot of there's no leadership even there anymore. And so it becomes like a free for all. And I'll give you an example. Like, so you think about December 9th, right? Last year, that man got killed in front of his daughter on Nagel, right? That happened December 9th, in front of his 10-year-old daughter at 4 o'clock, right? In the afternoon, December 26th. Right? A woman who was 64 years old, who was taking care of her 100-year-old grandmother, got shot at 11:30 in the morning the day after Christmas.
In front of the GNC.
January 2nd, right? There was the thing that happened at Inwood Bar and Grill. Remember when the bar, so the guy took off, caused a car crash that went into Inwood Bar and Grill. There's a little girl that was 10 years old. She might have to get her leg amputated. You know what I'm saying? That week, I was driving. I said, yo, I'm going to skip. I was going to Lina, which is my favorite Dominican restaurant, on 207th, right off of Nagel, right?
Yep.
Between Post and Nagel. So I said, I'm going to go there, but I'm going to skip the whole Dykeman area. I don't want beef. I'm driving. So I went to Seaman Avenue. Seaman is quiet, right? It's like, so I'm walking. I was on Seaman.
Sorry to cut you off. Seaman is, to us, Seaman is like Hollywood.
Yeah, it's the woods, right? So I turned on Seaman on Dykeman, right? 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I see two young dudes on a bike with masks, right? And they doing back and forth. I'm like, yo, la vaina conmigo. Like, they trying to rob me in my car? So I'm like watching. Yo, all of a sudden, the dude on the bike. And you could tell they were young because they were tall, but they were light in the ass. They were like, you could tell they were young. And he came around behind my car, and he just grabbed some dude with just a guy walking. And they grabbed him, they snatched his bag, and they took off. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying. That's why this is important. Like, if we don't really recognize what's happening right now, we're going to lose it all. Because the gentrification, the drugs, everything points to one direction, and it's the elimination of us. So that's why it's super important that we stay on the ball, that we don't play politicians. I'm of the belief that you have that the politicians have to be our partners, and we have to
Yes.
hold them accountable. Because if not, they're gonna go to the highest bidder. And to be honest, I'm very proud to have someone like Carmen de la Rosa, because I think she's a really good council member. Like I really think that she's about the people. And I think that we have to have leadership like that as well. So you need leaders. You need leaders at every level. And you don't need a title to be a leader. Like we all could lead. My mother used to be the numbers lady, but she was a leader. You know what I'm saying?
That's
You
true.
can't forget about Manny. Manny's another one that's a leader. Like those, to me, I think Carmen and Manny, they represent us well. Because they all about us.
They're not here though, but they
Yeah,
represent.
they represent us real,
I couldn't
real,
get them
real
to
well.
come. Sorry.
And it's like Les says, we're setting the blueprint. Like, if it wasn't for Les Page, the Uptown Collective, nobody would really know what's going on in Uptown. Can't forget about Dykeman Diary. That's another good page that shows everything about what's going on in the community. If it wasn't for them 2 pages, everybody would be lost.
That's right.
And everybody thinks that we're what? Loving hip hop?
Yeah.
No, we're not. We're not. This is where the sazon is at. Everybody wants to come to us, and you got to face it. But we got to change the narrative of them thinking that it's all right to come and gentrify us and push us out.
Yeah, but we have to do our part. And that goes, you know, I mean, you mentioned Council Member de la Rosa and Assembly Member de Los Santos. We have the numbers, and so we have to come out and vote. A lot of times we're so worried. We live here, right? But we're so worried about what's happening in Mocha that we forget to go out and vote. And guess what? The same way we vote them in, we can vote them out and make sure that we have people who are representative of the values and the things that are important to us as a community. So we have to roll up our sleeves too. If we don't see leadership, then one of us has to step in and be a leader. And that takes a lot of cojones y ovarios. But we gotta do that because that's the only way that we're gonna be able to save our community, to keep our community together, to keep the fiber, to keep that sazon. Sometimes when I walk around the neighborhood, it hurts me that I see so many empty storefronts, so many businesses gone. You know, mom and pop shops that were here for decades.
It looks like a
gone.
cemetery, really.
Exactly. To see some of our kids, instead of being in school, they're on the street corner instead of an after-school program. But guess what? We got to make noise. We're the #1 immigrant group in New York City. Where are we in the leadership in New York City? Where are we in the leadership in New York State? And so we need to roll up our sleeves and stop standing on the sidelines complaining and do something about it. Go out and vote. Join your community board. Be a part of the nonprofits in the neighborhood. Be a part of something, because we're going to lose our community if we don't step up and do something.
That's true. And thank you very much. All right. So thank you very much to Marie.
The Uptown Collective, nobody will really know what's going on in Uptown. Can't forget about Dykeman Diary. That's another good page that shows everything about what's going on in the community. If it wasn't for them 2 pages, everybody would be lost.
That's right.
And everybody thinks that we're what? Loving hip hop?
Yeah.
No, we're not. We're not. This is where the sazon is at. Everybody wants to come to us, and you got to face it. But we got to change the narrative of them thinking that it's all right to come and gentrify us and push us out.
Yeah, but we have to do our part. And that goes, you know, I mean, you mentioned Council Member de la Rosa and Assembly Member de Los Santos. We have the numbers, and so we have to come out and vote. A lot of times we're so worried. We live here, right? But we're so worried about what's happening in Mocha that we forget to go out and vote. And guess what? The same way we vote them in, we can vote them out and make sure that we have people who are representative of the values and the things that are important to us as a community. So we have to roll up our sleeves too. If we don't see leadership, then one of us has to step in and be a leader. And that takes a lot of cojones y ovarios. But we got to do that because that's the only way that we're going to be able to save our community, to keep our community together, to keep the fiber, to keep that sazon. Sometimes when I walk around the neighborhood, it hurts me that I see so many empty storefronts, so many businesses gone. You know, mom and pop shops that were here for decades.
It looks like a
gone.
cemetery, really.
Exactly. To see some of our kids, instead of being in school, they're on the street corner instead of an after-school program. But guess what? We got to make noise. We're the #1 immigrant group in New York City. Where are we in the leadership in New York City? Where are we in the leadership in New York State? And so we need to roll up our sleeves and stop standing on the sidelines complaining and do something about it. Go out and vote. Join your community board. Be a part of the nonprofits in the neighborhood. Be a part of something, because we're going to lose our community if we don't step up and do something.
No, that's true. And thank you very much. All right. So thank you very much to Maria. Thank you, Mike. And thank you, Led, for joining me for this portion of the episode. And now we're going to have music and podcasts. So let's have a round of applause for our panel here.